All right, what's up, YouTube? Check, check, 1, 2. This is your boy Vitamin Dread, Zach Swan, back again for one more team building video. I just want to go quickly over my last team building video and apologize for anybody that might have watched it and tried out the team, because basically I try out teams so you don't have to. That's basically what's going on. I try out concepts so you don't have to. When I was doing Z Oder Sleuth, I didn't really run into a lot of Mega Sableye, and when I did, it did help me gain momentum due to what other mons had to switch out. Also, the free attack boost was nice, but it just wasn't as good as putting Heatran as a stall breaker. So with my Mega Mawile, Heatran, Volt Switch, U-turn core, I actually found somebody else that made a similar team, and I saw a new Kartana, excuse me, it's newer, it's more popular now, Kartana set, which is the Choppleberry set with the speed from Beast Boost and Swords Dance and 3 attacks, and it's actually really awesome, and Choppleberry is very helpful for high jump kick from Medichan, taking half damage, and then you can Swords Dance up and KO it, and then get the speed boost, and then put a lot of pressure on your opponents. So I ended up replacing Tapu Bulu with that. I will post some replays of that team, because it was one of my better teams actually. Unfortunately, I couldn't share it with y'all right now. I will, however, share a team that with a Pokemon, obviously, that the title implies that I've never used before, which is Shcuks. That's what my team is based around today, and actually this is a pretty decent team. It's much better than the teams I've already done playtesting with it. It's much better than some of the teams that I've done. There's obvious problems with it, but there's ways to work around it, because I've got enough power, enough wall breaking, enough cleaning capabilities, and it's just different. Also, it uses some different types of movesets, and Shcuks obviously is not very common, and there's really only one way to use him, and that is as a, I would say, a suicide lead. He does have a lot of defense, so I guess he does have a little bit of staying power, but he has no reliable recovery, and he has to use Mental Herb for Pokemon that are using Taunt, like Smeargle or Tapu Koko or something. So that's pretty much, it's pretty much a standard set. You find it on Smogon, but I just wanted to try it out because Shcuks Sticky Web is very, very good, and Shcuks is interesting to use, and it's something that not a lot of people really know about. So I'm just going to start a new team for all intents and purposes, and it doesn't really matter what it's called. I tried to use Shcuks before, but it's more difficult than you think. It's very specific for him to thrive in the OU metagame. He needs a very specific environment. Anyway, but you can use the Shcuks in any tier because it is PU, and it's one of those like Ditto that's usable in any tier just because it has like a niche. Mental Herb, and yeah, I'm gonna use Sturdy to stop the one-hit KO moves. So 3 moves that you have to absolutely have on Shcuks are Sticky Web. You don't have to have Stealth Rock, but I am going to have Stealth Rock because I do not have another Stealth Rocker, and Shcuks does get opportunities to set it up. If you end up having to deal with a taunt, you'll have to double taunt. You can switch out and set up Stealth Rock later, and that also gives you the opportunity to, if you have like a Defiant or a Contrary user against a Defogger, to have a boost a couple of times throughout the match, rather than a Suicide Shcuks where they really only need to defog once. And then the other move is Encore. So useful. Such a useful move. Obviously, it requires prediction because Shcuks has the lowest speed in the game, I think. I'm pretty sure it's the absolute lowest speed. Also have no idea how it is a bug type if it's a turtle. So the third move can be a number of things, but it really can only be 2 things. kind of has to be an attack. Knockoff is worthless because I'm going to use Bisharp as my Defiant user to push back, and if you knock off items, then Bisharp loses power. So knockoff is worthless. Toxic, but then you're completely left helpless against another taunt after your mental herb is gone. But it does help if you're doing a more defensive team, which I'm not. I'm doing a much more offensive team, which is not very characteristic with Shuckle, but check it out, see if it works for you. So really the only two options are Rock Tomb, which guarantees Pokemon that's not grounded is going to get a speed reduction, giving you momentum if you need to switch out or if Shuckle needs to go under and you need to sacrifice it. Or Infestation is also good for getting momentum because it prevents the Pokemon from switching out. Infestation is probably a little better, but my the whole concept of my team is to reduce my opponent's speed, and so that's why I'm going with Rock Tomb. And then I'm gonna put more specific EVs in my Pokepaste in the description, but right now I'm just gonna do max defense. And actually I could do minus speed just in case. Yeah, not necessarily. There are specific EVs that Smogon has that does help out, but just for all intents and purposes, I'm going to do max defense. Special defense might help me out more with water types, but you'll see the rest of my team how it pans out. So next thing is that I get worried about when I think about. Well, no, let's start with Defiant. Obviously, the best Defiant user is Bisharp or Bisharp, but it's Bisharp, like a bishop. Bisharp and Sharp. And there's a couple ways I can go here. I could go Z move, which I am going to do, I think, Darknium Z. Or I could use, actually no, excuse me, I'm going to use Lumberry. This is due to the fact that one of Shuckle's main shutdowns is ghost types, more specifically Mega Sableye, but ghost types in general are going to kind of rip through my team, and so I need Bisharp to take care of all ghost types, Blacephalon, everything. So a lot of times ghost types are going to be faster. If you need to use Sucker Punch, then they'll want to Will-O-Wisp. So if you do mispredict on a Will-O-Wisp, then you can obviously be instantly healed. So this is just for now, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do, but I'm going to probably change it to Darknium Z because I need Bisharp Bisharp is my main sweeper, and if he can also wall break one time, it'll be very, 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 very helpful. So the standard Bisharp set is Knockoff and Swords Dance and Sucker Punch and Iron Head. That's pretty much what you're looking at. You can do I'm going to do max attack. You can try you know, Life Orb or something like that. Honestly, I'm going to just stick with Lumberry for right now. It really hasn't made, I really haven't made use of it yet, but I will go over the other option, which probably is better once I'm finished building the team. So right now I've got a Bisharp's main obviously problem is with fighting types, and best fighting type counter that I can encounter is going to be Tapu Lele, because it can also take back Mega Medicham with Moonblast. It also really helps with Moonblast, really helps my team in general. And I'm going to use Specs. You could use another item here. I just like to be able to do as much damage as possible, and also Tapu Lele is pretty much guaranteed. Specs Lele is pretty much a guaranteed shutdown to Mega Sableye. Also, Psychic Terrain, again, it's all about suppressing the other team's speed. So if the other team can't use priority moves, obviously Bisharp Sucker Punch, you have to kind of be careful with it, but it's vastly going to help the sweepers do exactly that. So with specs, I'm going to be unorthodox and use Focus Blast and Psyshock. Probably not the greatest idea of all time, but... And then Hidden Power Fire, I really need coverage with fire. For steel types, absolutely need it. Especially Scissor, who otherwise can't really do anything to Tapu Lele. So if Tapu Lele really, the Specs Lele really puts Scissor against the wall, and I can gain momentum that way. Mega Scissor. I gotta have 252 plus and 252. Okay. Timid. Now, since I still don't have a Mega, I'm going to use a Mega that is going to be able to make use of Psychic Terrain, and that is Mega Medicham. I know it's not very common to see Mega Medicham with Tapu Lele, but it's actually a pretty deadly combination. The added power from Zen Headbutt can help, especially with Ghost types that might switch in to, that might want to switch into High Jump Kick. Again, my team will have a problem with Ghost types otherwise, so especially Alola and Marowak when you see who's coming. So I'm going to use typical Medicham Ice Punch for you have to use Zen Headbutt in Psychic Terrain, High Jump Kick for other Steel types, and just a powerful attack in general. And then Fake Out for extra priority. Obviously isn't going to work under Psychic Terrain, but is helpful because Medicham's attack is sick. Fast Sweeper, Timid, Jolly, perfect. Okay. Now, the Mega Medicham also is one of those that makes great use of Sticky Web. So does Tapu Lele. Like, I don't really have anybody that's super fast, and that's the whole point of this team. I'm not trying to outpace at all. I'm trying to suppress the speed of the opponent. I could roll with Paralysis, which was more effective in the past, but just on a side note, I thought about using Thunder Wave on more defensive Pokemon, but I kind of wanted to go more offensive. And one thing that I came across was, first of all, I have a little bit of trouble with a lot of ground types. Lando, isn't going to really take down Shuckle, but Shuckle isn't doing anything to him. So I was going to do, just as a surefire Lando counter, an offensive Zapdos. This one's a little bit unorthodox. It's with Electrium Z. I'm using this as my Z move. Now, I could change to my Z move to Bisharp and have Zapdos with Life Orb, which would be very good. But as I found out, Hidden Power Ice already one-hit KO Zapdos, I believe, most of the time. So, if not all the time. So if I have Electrium Z, obviously having Thunderbolt gives it away because most Zapdos, if it's a defensive Zapdos, which that's what I'm doing, is bluffing a defensive Zapdos is really what I'm doing. Because just looking at my team, especially because my last Pokemon is going to be Toxapex, and I'll explain why in a minute, but that looks like it's just going to be somebody that's going to be there to take ground type hits and maybe cover with Discharge, because that's usually a good cover for things like Skarmory or Celesteela or excuse me, Toxapex. But Electrium Z, again, none of those Pokemon are going to stay in. Electrium Z, though, is great for wall breaking. And then Ice, Electric, and Fire with Heat Wave. That's a really good combination right there that can really wreck most teams, especially ones that have been picked off, or leave them in pick-off range for Bisharp or Medicham. And then, in turn, Zapdos can take care of most physical walls, especially all Steel types, which my team is completely shut down by right now. So, yeah, I mean, offensive Zapdos, again, is not very, is not something that you would expect. And I could use Roost here, but since I don't have a Defogger, and if I need to pull in Shuckle, that's dangerous to put him in against when you have the other team has rocks up on you. So I decided to go with Defog on the end. You could use Roost. That's you know, a completely acceptable alternative, but I just needed a defogger, and so I went with that. And then obviously max speed Timid, 100%. This now becomes my fastest Pokemon. I actually tied with Mega Medicham at 328. This is like very surprising. A lot of people really don't expect even offensive Zapdos to have max speed, and so it's even though one that's this offensive would. I believe the other offensive one on Smogon has a little bit less speed, just because it's supposed to be only situational. So this is not necessarily a set that you could just copy and paste. Well, you can now, but it's not going to be a set you just copy and paste offline anywhere. And then I need obviously a defensive sponge, and I need somebody to help with water types, help with grass types. So that's why I chose Toxapex, just because he's like impossible to take down. I have like a couple big time things that can take psychics, and then I have like my ground immune already. So it's again, the only real weakness I have is electric. Toxapex does leave me with a weakness to electric, and I don't have anything to like except for Shuckle to do, like, let's say an Electrium Z. The only real Electrium Z you'd run into is Tapu Koko, which goes up front, leads against Shuckle most of the time. So Shuckle is the only one that can really take the Gigavolt Havoc, and it's usually going to be the one that's matched up against Tapu Koko. So that is nice. And then obviously Tapu Koko probably likes its matchup against Shuckle, so wants to use it against Shuckle, because it can deal a pretty hefty damage to the rest of my team. But if Sticky Web is up, then it's going to be kind of hard to maintain it, because now these three Pokemon are all faster than it and can all really take it at least close to being KO'd. This is just going to be the Pex right here, the one, the only. There's no need for whatsoever for beautiful bunker or whatever that move is. All that you need is leftover, or I mean, excuse me, Black Sludge, Regenerator, and then Haze is super important. Otherwise, things like Volcarona I might have a little trouble with, or any of those fire types that's set up. I still have a little bit of trouble with Charizard X, but you know, Psy Spam kind of helps with that a lot. And then also Sucker Punch. I mean, my priority moves, Mega Charizard X is vulnerable too. I've got, let's see, Scald, Toxic, and Recover. And then yeah, I'm just gonna put the situational stuff in the Poke Paste. So check that link at the bottom. And thank you guys for watching. Feel free to leave a comment if you think my team could be better, or if you tried out my team and say, hey, listen, this team sucks, or definitely use Dark Z on Bisharp, because I think that's probably what I'm going to do next. And then I'll also post some replays that I've used, but once again, like, thank you guys so much. If you guys have any questions or anything, feel free to look me up on Twitch at Vitamin Dread, or follow me on Instagram at Vitamin Dread, and I will talk to you guys later. Thank you again.